One.
Good evening, welcome to Monday, June 24th meeting, Selectboard Town of Montague. Topics may start earlier than specified unless there is a hearing scheduled. The meeting is being taped by our administrative assistant along with MCTV. And is there anyone in the audience who's going to want to tape this evening? You're welcome to do so, just let us know. And votes may be taken. I'm Rich Kuplowitz.
Chris Boutwell.
And Mike Nelson, we're the select board.
I'm Steve Ellis, Town Administrator.
Andy Bogus, Executive Assistant.
Okay, first is approval of minutes of June 3rd and 17th.
Make a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
I will second for June 3rd. The 17th I haven't seen yet.
I thought you said it was today.
The
We're taking the third.
third.
My apologies. I will make the motion for the third.
Okay.
I'll second for the 3rd.
Motion's
I watched the
made
video of the 17th, that's what I'm thinking of.
and- Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So vote unanimous. Public comments? Anybody? Okay. Personnel Board, Chief Williams.
All right, good evening, everybody. All right, so it's come time to promote a patrolman to a detective to replace John Dempsey, who was our narcotics detective. And I would like to go ahead and promote Jacob Lapine to that position to be effective July 7th, 2019. And it would be at the pay grade of D for detective, step 5, which will be $28.66 an hour, and and he belongs to the NEPBA union.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So vote unanimous. And this will round out your
Detectives. Yes. Yeah, Cody's in the academy, he's in his second week now. Jacob DeLugas, who we just hired on June 2nd, is doing very well in the field training officer program, and he should be all set to go within the next couple of weeks. And then,
You're back
Yep.
to full staff.
yes, with one guy in the academy, unfortunately, but yeah, we're as close as we're gonna get.
Okay, and there's also is the cell phone piece.
Yes, and that'll be for Jacob DeLugas, retro back to June 2nd, $5.77 a week for his cell phone stipend.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So vote unanimous.
And just to make note of something, earlier on, we did something different with the detectives. Peter Lapachinski was going to step back and go to patrol, but we've come up with a new schedule where there's going to be a detective on every day, even on the weekends. So Pete's going to stay in the detective role, work a 4 and 2 schedule instead of a administrative schedule, Monday through Friday. Jake Lapine will be 3 to 11, and then Sergeant Hoffman will be a detective 2 days a week and a sergeant 2 days a week.
Good.
I think it's for the better of the department, and most everybody else does, so that's good.
Great, good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Good. Well, things are going well. Okay, Nicole or Matthew here? Request for use of Pesky Park? Do you know if they're planning to come with me, or?
They were the last time we talked to them.
Okay, well, 7:10, so we're a little early. How about Zachary Billings, Montague, Masonic Lodge? Are you think
He
they're
hasn't
coming?
been coming the last.
Yeah.
I think we can handle this one because it's again, it's the same request.
It's an annual event.
October 20th, 2019, 9:30 to noon, their annual 5K road race. So, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the 10th annual 5K road race for the Harmony Masonic Lodge, Sunday, October 20th, 2019, from 9:30 a.m. till 12 p.m. With approximately 80 to 90 people. route of the event is from Masonic Street to Broad Shop Road to Solar Ave to Avenue A, cross Avenue A to the bike path, going along the bike path to the to the Patch Bridge, and then turn around to the Patch Bridge and return via the same route. The police chief has signed off on it, and we have a certificate of insurance.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And are you Nicole and Matthew?
Yeah.
Come on down.
Great timing.
Perfect. So, we have a request for use of Pesky Park.
Yep. How you doing? Good.
And this is October 5th for a wedding. You've done these before, I think, in the park too. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I think once since I've been here.
Yeah, I remember at least a couple.
My cousin actually did it like 10, 11 years ago.
Oh, very nice.
So, but it's just accessible for my mother who's handicapped. So,
That's great to hear. We've done a lot of handicap improvements in that park in the past 10, 12 years, so
Yeah.
it's great that she's able to utilize those services there.
she's an amputee, so she does have a prosthesis, but it's just in the electronic chair. It's easy for her to move around.
Excellent.
Seeing our reception is right across the street.
Oh, Rick has?
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. Can't get better than that.
We need insurance for this.
We do.
Yes, and she did explain that insurance is needed, but we weren't sure. I didn't want to purchase the policy until you guys approved.
Sure, that makes
So,
sense.
Typically, we'll do is we'll approve it pending the insurance.
Okay.
And then you get the info to Wendy for the 1 day.
yep, I'll purchase it by the end of the week. So,
Great. In the
If it's
case of
approved.
rain,
yeah.
do you anticipate having to put up any sort of tents or anything, or just everybody brings an umbrella?
Everybody pretty much
Yeah,
has an
Okay.
umbrella.
Pretty much.
Very good.
We're trying to do this the less expensive as possible.
Absolutely, I
So-
understand that. Very good. All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the request to use Peskamska Park for a wedding on October 5th, 2019, to Nicole
Mercure.
Mercure and Matt Martineau from 3 p.m. to 5:30
Yep.
for approximately 200 or so people. We don't have a police chief signature yet, do we need
I'll
one?
have him sign it.
Okay. And this is approved pending signature from the police chief and certificate of insurance. And that is a $25 fee?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay?
Do I write the check out today for you?
You can take care of it with
yeah.
Wendy.
Okay, we'll drop it when the
At
thing.
your convenience.
Okay, cool.
We've got a few months.
Okay.
Any questions or
No.
second?
Oh, I'll second that.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So voted.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We'll hope for good weather for you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. Next is Executive Assistant Business MOU with Franklin County Solid Waste. This is all first.
I'll stay out of this, Mr. Chair, let you
Sure.
go.
This is hauling this.
Yeah, we do this yearly.
Mhm.
This is just the one for this fiscal year. For hauling of recyclables, disposal of solid waste, hauling and disposal of bulky waste, and hauling and disposal of scrap metals and appliances.
Okay, and I've been doing it for a long time. Any issues that we're aware of, Steve, or Wendy, or?
No, I think the DPW has been pleased to have the support in the case of these contracts. I've not heard of any issues.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract as has been presented.
Okay. And I'll second it. And Chris is abstaining as he's a member of the board,
Vice Chair.
vice chair of the Solid Waste District. Any other questions, Jeff?
Just for clarity, this is for the transfer station.
Yes.
This is not our recyclables
Right,
contract with
this is-
Republic
This
Services.
is the transfer.
No, this is hauling out the, like the construction or whatever people bring that they can bring to the landfill.
Yeah, the 30 cubic yard dumpsters that we put our recyclables in and other materials at Sandy Lake. Yeah.
Recycling and the other one's called bulky waste, I guess.
Yeah.
That's springs and mattresses and those sorts of things. Okay, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So voted unanimous. Thank you. And one abstention.
Now, Chris, if I can ask, because you probably have the most up-to-date information, is it true that the Solid Waste Management District no longer needs to move from its office in
Correct.
Greenfield?
Correct.
So, I can only assume that that will be better in terms of sort of costs and service consistency
And
for
the
the town.
basement has been half cleaned out over there with old stuff disposed of.
Nice.
Okay, next we have, discussion on a couple of open seats and, or reappointments, that we have a couple of we have more applicants than seats available.
The airport commission, we have 3 letters of interest that were received, and there's 2 openings. And then the cultural council, we have 2 openings, I believe it is, and we received 1 letter, and then we also received a letter from the historical commission, from Jeff Singleton to be on the historical commission. And Ed Gregory had sent me a letter saying he'd like Jeff to be the 23rd. That committee, but we just did it differently since I had letters of interest for those positions.
So, say that again, so we have 1 open seat on the historic?
It's, there's no competition for the seat, it's simply a new person who
Yes,
is
new person
pursuing it.
going into the seat,
I
okay.
believe, yeah.
And then, and with the cultural council, we have 2, but only 1 applicant?
Yeah, there's 2 people who are term limited.
Yes,
Um,
1 letter.
And 1 letter, so we have 2 open, 1 letter. And then 3 applicants for 2 seats with the airport. Jeff, you have a PhD?
What?
You have a PhD?
Yes,
It's impressive.
I taught BC.
I thought you did.
20 years.
I had this memory that you had taught there. That's incredible.
Okay, so, let's talk about the airport commission first.
I was gonna do the Jeff one because that's easier.
Oh, okay, let's do the Jeff one.
Make a motion to appoint Jeff Singleton to the Town Historical Commission.
I'll second.
And that's, how long of a position? 1 year?
1 year.
So through June 30th, 2020.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded, any other discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So we're unanimous. Okay. What's the
Oh,
next
can
one?
we change that to 3 years?
Oh,
Or,
I will,
Make a
Let's
comment.
make a
I'll make a
motion
new motion.
to amend the-
I'll make a new motion to amend the last motion, to go through January 30th, 2022.
Second.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded, any discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We'll rue the day.
Cultural council,
So 2 seats and only 1 of interest.
Question.
Yep.
yes, Jeff?
Is it term limit on the cultural council?
Well, they just expired,
No, they apparently,
limit the number of terms.
there's something in there, yeah.
They're bylaws.
I'm not certain, to be honest with you. Jen Oddly related it to me, so it was new information. In any event, they are stepping aside from those seats.
One on there.
Yeah.
Regarding the cultural council, Ms. Deagle certainly has been a very strong advocate for disability resources in our community. Has helped make a lot of great changes in the town. But by chance, Steve, had you had an opportunity to speak with her, or just?
I haven't spoken directly. You have a copy of the letter
Yeah.
that she submitted. You know, I do know that she was encouraged by Jen and Kate to
Okay.
make application to be a member.
I agree, she did reach out to, great, and that's good to hear that the other council members are encouraging of her. So I'll, and how long is this term?
Cultural council. Yeah, that one's 3 years.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to appoint Betty Teagle to the Cultural Council through June 30th, 2022.
Second?
Okay, motion's made and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye. So currently, back to the airport commission. So currently we have Commissioner David Brule and Brian Carroll who both sent us notes expressing their willingness to return, and Brian's been a long-term member of the board, one of the members, you might understand, from talking with Steve and Brian, who's in the back of the room. Some aeronautics experience. We also had Seth Rutherford, the owner of 253 Organic, a new business in town, and Seth is also right in the neighborhood of the park, and he also brings with him some experience around managing endangered grasses and plants relative to his other businesses that he's been involved with. So it gives us a kind of a third person to consider for that.
So I had the opportunity to watch last week's meeting in my free time over the weekend. And so there was discussion about potentially adding new members to the board to make it from, I think it was a 7-member board to a 9-member or 9 to 11 or
It's a
something.
5-member board now, right?
Yeah, we didn't receive any request from the airport
There was no
commission
request for it, okay.
to increase the size or otherwise alter like how it is constituted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a question, I think that Chris might have referenced relative to, well, should we have an alternate member?
Yes.
You know, I'll just offer my opinion and say alternate members can be a useful function, in particular where there's a lot of conflict of interests and things that require people to recuse themselves. It can also be, it can also sort of change what it is to be a member. If that individual is voting each time, then it can essentially change those involved in governance on a day-to-day basis. I didn't receive any strong input from, like, letter from the commission necessarily. I think that if someone were failing to meet their responsibilities and not showing up frequently,
Mhm.
then you would always have the opportunity to appoint a new member to the committee. That's sort of how it's always historically functioned.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether I don't know what the rationale is for changing the approach at
Mhm.
this point, you know? I think that you have a committee of the people who you feel are best able to do the job, and if there's a performance issue, then you introduce, you know, the question of whether someone should be replaced.
Yeah, and I think I'm a little hesitant to really uproot the current commission as it is, given the amazing strides that the airport has made in the recent 12 to 24 months. There's really been some amazing work over there, and I'm sure that's certainly due to our new airport manager, but under the leadership of the commission. So I think while I'm extremely appreciative of the additional candidates who are offering to be a part of it, I guess it's just Mr. Rutherford, I would certainly express my great gratitude to him for offering his desire to be a candidate and to be more involved in the community. But I would go ahead and make a motion to appoint David Brule and Brian Carroll to the Airport Commission through June, what is that, through June 30th, 2022.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it would have been better for us to hear from the commission if there were any issues. The thing I brought up was it looked like Seth had some experience that might be
Yeah,
helpful for the
absolutely.
airport, and hopefully we can at least tap him of those.
And I assume that's where Chris, you
Right,
were
that's why I
suggesting
was-
as the alternate idea.
Right, I was
so
trying
we
to-
could still
Trying to
utilize
make
his,
space for all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have another couple of seats coming up next year as well, so maybe one of those persons will be
Mm-hmm.
not as, will be, or there'll be another discussion at that point too.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives an opportunity. Sometimes, I just get concerned sometimes because people continue to serve on boards because they think nobody else will.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah, it's always, sometimes it's nice to get a fresh set of eyes on some of the issues going on, especially with us with the advanced nature of the habitat issues that we have with the grasslands. And, I mean, right now we have 3 aviation-related members, but we don't actually have any board members that are business owners in town.
Mm.
And unfortunately, we only have 2 out of the 5 members are actually residents in town, so, or business owners, some type of taxpayer in town, so. I was very impressed talking with Seth. I mean, I think as a butter and a business owner, and the vast amount of knowledge he has, I think he would serve well as an airport commissioner.
Yeah.
But that's from my perspective, and we're in the heart of mowing season now. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just reflect on the conversation of last week when Peter Ulrich was not here today, you know. As I heard the conversation, it seems like what we're interested in having is a board that has niche skills, an expert in each thing. David Brule was certainly stood out because of his knowledge of and engagement with Native American tribes and the tribal issues associated with the land. Mr. Carroll stood out for his long tenure and he was one of those people who have an avionics background. And Mr. Rutherford stood out from the standpoint of someone who had business skills and acumen that he could bring to the board, and the endangered grasslands management component of it. So those were sort of the choices that I feel like were framed without prejudice or preference in last week's conversation.
It's a very good position to be in, where we have 3 exceptional candidates, all with exceptional skills. It's just unfortunate we have to pick 2.
okay, so I have a motion on the floor to appoint Brian Carroll and David Brule. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, then I'll call for what, all those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so vote unanimous. All right, and then we have a list set forth that, have like a, these are all separate lists, right, Lindy? There's like 1-year appointments and
Yeah.
so forth,
I believe that's on my full list.
It's my favorite time of the year. Second only to town meeting time. Make a motion, we appoint the following people to a 1-year term expiring June 30th, 2020. Steve Ellis as the ADA coordinator, David Jensen as the alternate building inspector, Catherine Pierce as the assistant town clerk, Wendy Bogus as the auction permit agent, Deb Borbo as the auction permit agent, David Brule, Joe Graveline, Doug Harris, Peter Miller, John Nove, Marilyn Stowe-Toom, Bettina Washington, David Talpine White to the Battlefield Grant Advisory Committee. To the Broadband Telecommunications Committee, Ken Hanna, Kevin Hart, Robert Steinberg. Christopher Rice as the Building Inspector and Code Enforcement Officer, Jason Burbank to the Cable Advisory Committee. Period. And I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Rich Kuplowitz to the Cable Advisory Committee.
Second.
I'm gonna abstain.
Yeah.
But
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to appoint, and that position, just to clarify, was a June 30th, 2020 position. Motion to appoint the following to a one-year position through June 30th, 2020. Rich Widmer to the Cable Advisory Committee. Annabelle Levine and Judith Flory to the Cemetery Commission. Lori Reed to the Conservation Commission as an alternate. Wendy Bogus and Chris Williams as constables. Deb Forbo, Barbara Kuklowitz, Teresa Minor, and Larry Parker to the Council on Aging. Roberta Potter as the Council on Aging Director. Suzanne Lewanto as the Cultural Coordinator. Tom Bergeron as the DPW Superintendent. John Zellman as the Emergency Manager. Jason Burbank, Ariel Alon, Pam Hanold, Chris Mason, Sarah Sally Pick, and Tom Van Egmond to the Energy Committee. In a second.
Second.
motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Chris Bowell Senior to the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Just clarify for a one-year term through June 30th, 2020.
I'll abstain.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chris abstains.
Motion, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Nelson to the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District for a one-year term.
I'll second.
And motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint the following
Michael
to,
abstained.
yes, I abstained. Motion to
Okay.
appoint the following to a one-year position through June 30th, 2020. Richard Sowen Jr. as the Forest Warden, John Zellman as the Forest Warden Deputy, Steve Ellis to the Franklin Regional Council of Governments. In a second.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Rich Kuklowitz to the Franklin County Regional Council of Governments for 1 year through June 30th, 2020.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstained.
Motion to appoint Elizabeth Irving for a one-year position through June 30th, 2020 to the Franklin Regional Council of Governments as the planning rep.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to appoint Rich Kuklowitz to the FRTA Advisory Board through June 30th, 2020.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
abstained.
Motion to appoint the following people to a one-year term through June 30th, 2020. Jeff Singleton to the FRTA Advisory Board. Herbert Hohengasser as the Plumbing and Gas Inspector. Tim Hartnett and John Letourneau as the alternate Gas and Plumbing Inspectors. Linda Hickman as the Library Director. Ariel Alon as the Montague Energy Policy Liaison. John Dobis as the Parks and Recreation Department Director. Walter Ramsey as the Planning Conservation Agent. Matt Lord as the Planning Board Associate Member. John Zellman to the Regional Emergency Planning Committee. Eileen Seymour to the Tax Title Custodian position. Kopelman Page as Town Council. Leslie Brown, David Detmold, Charles Walker Corby, Sean Mahoney, Michael Marsotigiano, Roberta Potter, Tom Sullivan, Rafael Andy Vega, and Zehong Wen to the Tree Advisory Committee. Christian Kucher and Nancy Barry Yankowski to the Turner's Falls Athletic Club. Chris DeMars as the Veterans Burial Agent and the Veterans Director.
There's a question, Chris is not the Veterans Director, it's Timothy.
Let's hold off on that one then until next week.
Yep, so I will take that out of my motion. Just the director portion. Are you still the burial agent, Chris?
Yes, he's still married.
Okay, so I will remove just the veterans director position. John T. Murphy as the Veterans Graves Officer, Bob McDonald as the Wastewater Pollution Control Superintendent, Ron Seacart to the Wells Trust, Wayne Shaw as the Wire Inspector, Todd Weed as the alternate Wire Inspector, Tom Wyman as the alternate Wire Inspector, and Bill Doyle IV as the Zoning Board of Appeals alternate.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint the following to a 2-year position on the River Culture Steering Committee through June 30th, 2021. Pam Allen, Lucinda Kidder, Aaron McLean, and Oliver Miller.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint the following to a 3-year term through June 30th, 2022. To the Agricultural Commission, Diane Flynn, Donna Francis, and Bob Missoula. To the Conservation Commission, Deborah Henson and Sean Worrell. To the Cultural Council, Ann Harding and Rachel Tunham. To the Historical Commission, Ed Gregory and Janelle Knockleby. To the Planning Board, George Cook. And to the Registrar of Voters, Deb Borbo and Ann Stewart.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in-
Worthy.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Question,
So
Yes,
vote
sir.
unanimous. Yes.
is Mary Malonis on our list for the historical commission?
I'm sorry, was who?
Mary Malonis for the historical commission?
She doesn't have an expiring term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Motion to appoint Josh Lackley as a alternate on the Zoning Board of Appeals for 1 year through June 30th, 2020.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Could you-
That was a typo.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Wendy corrected on mine. So that's the one?
Yes,
Okay, and that was a 1 year?
yes.
Motion to appoint Timothy Ned, how would I say his last name, Chris? Nedgelik?
Yeah.
We'll go with Nedgelik.
Guys, last name is Kuklowitz.
Yeah. Where do these names come from? Motion to appoint Tim Nedgelik as the director for the veterans through June 30th, 2020.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. And motion to appoint Alan Rippingale Jr. to the Zoning Board of Appeals for 5 years through June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And as I will say, for the past couple of years, this is so much better. Thank you, Wendy,
Thank
for
you.
putting that together. That is,
And thank you, everyone, for your service to the town. Much appreciated.
yes, very much so.
Okay. Done with that, we're
Linda.
down to Linda.
Linda. Perfect timing.
From one meeting to another.
7:45 or later, but looks like you're here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I want to get appointed Stephen Orlosk. We had around 25 applicants. It was the best applicant pool we've ever had. And he's got 3 years of public library assistant experience, and he's got many, many years of technology experience, which is a wonderful thing in the library world these days. And he's especially good at helping people troubleshoot with technology issues. And we get many people coming in who are doing things online where they don't really have much training. So we have people coming in, trying to access social security concerns. They're doing job applications. They're, doing a wide range of things on the computers. And really looking forward to having another staff member who can really help them with some of the more complicated issues.
Okay.
And his references were good, and we're really excited to have him on board, and he's going to start tomorrow, as long as you appoint him.
And you said 25 applicants?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, some of them had over 30 years of library experience.
Two things.
So-
This one says 26 hours a week, this one says 21.
He ended up, because he also has he's a marketing consultant, he would prefer to work 21 hours a week on a regular basis, but then also do some substituting on top of it.
Okay.
Great. So make a motion to appoint Stephen Orlowski as the library assistant effective tomorrow, June 25th, 2019, for 21 hours a week in the Nage Union at grade A, step 2, $14.88 an hour.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
And while Linda's here, I sent her an email earlier, but I just want to give a shout out to the Friends of the Library who did a fantastic job with the front entryway. They did a whole flower display and put some new pots out and something. It caught my eye real nice when I drove by. And so shout out to the library ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen.
And gentlemen,
And
yes.
gentlemen. I know Mr. Valley's very busy over there. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Okay.
please send our thanks to them for their
I will.
great work.
Actually, we had a trustees meeting and I just brought up, I mentioned your
Oh,
emails
good.
under public relations.
Oh, great.
So, great.
It looks very nice.
It does, thank you. I'm really impressed with the work they do.
Yes.
Thank you,
Okay,
Linda.
Great, thank you.
All right, next we have Brian Westbrook from the RPM Festival.
Welcome back, Ryan.
Hey, Brian.
See you. I'm Sean Worley. I'm here representing the Rod guy.
Hey, Sean.
That's how you knew how to say that last name.
Yes. That's it.
So last year we had the first, I guess it was, RPM Fest, and it's again slated this year for August 30th and September 1st.
Correct. Yep.
And so on top of the, I guess really why we're here mostly is that we had a lot of complaints from a lot of people in town about the level of noise in the festival.
Understood.
And, you know, we do have noise ordinances around entertainment licenses. So we want to just kind of have a discussion about what can be done to still have a good time and still have an event that is beneficial to you as the organizers and, you know, and to the club, because I know these events help the club with their maintenance of facilities and so forth like that. But we can't have that at the expense of the abutters and the, you know, I live on Oakland Street, and I could certainly hear it. I'm a little older than that, than being necessarily a connoisseur of that style of music, but it's amazing how the sound travels.
Yes, for sure.
That's the challenge, and, you know, regularly on the weekend, we're all accustomed to the weekends that there's some sort of a kielbasa shoot or a turkey shoot.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why you want to shoot kielbasa.
They're easy targets.
Very slow moving. You wouldn't believe how many people think we actually shoot turkeys. You know, they're like horrified by the notion of a turkey shoot. We don't shoot turkeys.
So,
Before we start, Mr. Chair, I'm going to recuse myself, as I've done in the past. I have, not through this festival, but with other festivals, with Westbrooks and PDB Productions, I have financial interests.
okay. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so basically I've come up with a number of things for as far as the sound mitigation concerns. First of all, we switched the event this year to Labor Day weekend, which we believe hopefully will mean either more residents will be out of town on vacation or will be celebrating outside anyway. We've also changed the schedule of the event to end an hour earlier than last year. So live music will be done at 10 p.m. on the main stage and 9 p.m. on the second stage. I'm basing that schedule also off of similar events like Green River Fest or Strange Creek. They have music going to 11, so we're cutting it basically an hour earlier than
I
similar
should
events.
listen to Green River. I have.
I can
Yep.
hear Green River in Monty Center.
Mhm.
It's incredible.
Yep.
So this is a profiling thing. is what you're saying. It's,
Well,
it's the music.
Not really, because Green River has a variety of.
Do they?
Yep. But I mean, you know, on one hand, I do completely understand our style of music isn't necessarily what everybody wants
But
to
it's,
hear.
it's the level really is,
Yep.
um,
Of course. So between being on Labor Day weekend, ending music 1 hour earlier on the live end, we also have a plan to park one of the trucks behind the main stage, which will do some sound absorption. So one of the interesting things to me was that we basically, when designing the site plan, I made every effort to aim all of the sound south into the woods off the site, which apparently wasn't enough because it's, you know, still pretty audible up in this way. So between parking the truck behind the stage, which will deflect any sound that's going to be going in the north direction, and we also, the second stage is going to be completely enveloped by a tent this year. It was open in the back last year, which is probably some of the sound that was coming out. So basically, both of the two main stages that are the loudest will have some sort of back, barrier in the back to deal with that. plus an hour earlier, plus Labor Day weekend. So between those three things, I'm hoping that that will be suitable for as far as the noise levels. I also went through and did some calculations, if you really want me to go through those, as far as like decibel levels and whatnot and distances. I will also be, I'm the main sound engineer for the festival, so I will also be personally monitoring the levels coming from the stage at all three stages. And based on my calculations, finding an acceptable level of what, where those levels should be.
Okay, maybe what you could do is, I think the place where the calls will come in will be probably the police station.
Correct, yep.
So if you could leave some contact information, which you probably already do.
Yep.
You know, maybe have a chat with Chief Williams.
Yep. In
So
fact,
then kind of keep an eye on that way you can stay in communication if there's anything that can be done.
can do. Yep. I think we actually did have a police detail on site last year.
Yeah, I would think you
So,
probably would, so if we can keep some communications there, and you're aware of, the concerns, and I wanna see people come into town and do things like Mutton and Meat, even though there's a lot of traffic,
Yep.
or do the RPM Fest, and there's another, activity going on in Montague Center in a couple of weeks.
Oh, cool.
Or August. So there's good things going on, and I appreciate people coming in interest. We just wanted to have this chat so people knew that we were, we're serious
aware
about
of the
it, and
concerns,
we're aware of it, and we think that you're gonna try some mitigation techniques.
Yep.
Let's see how those work,
Perfect.
and, and then if we need to continue our discussion.
Okay, cool.
Do you have any other?
Okay, cool. I think, so the other thing, obviously, I think when I reached out, I mostly wanted to also just, figure out whatever, for example, last year, the building inspector came to check out tents last year, which we weren't anticipating, but, I just basically just want to get us on the radar for everything, and for in terms of
Okay.
inspections, licenses, all that stuff, so. Are there any other areas where we would need to reach out? I think we're
Board of Health?
Board of Health, yeah, for
Anything
food vendors.
different than, if the club is handling food, I think they have all the appropriate.
We're just bar.
Just bar.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
We have, I have the food packet with I did that last year, so
Yeah,
same thing as
and the
before.
building inspector, because it's a public event, he may want to look at the types of tents and
Okay.
the fabric and all those kinds of things.
And
which
that might involve the fire department too.
Okay, cool.
It wouldn't hurt to.
To reach out to those
give him a call.
individually.
He also
Okay.
cares, about the stage, and strength,
Yep.
because there've been issues in events where stages don't.
Gotcha,
Well,
yep.
those sorts of things.
And make sure you got the proper kind of fire extinguishers.
That's correct, yeah.
So it would be good to probably
Reach out to those.
stop, the fire department's kind of an anomaly in there now, they're a separate little government, but if you stop at the fire station,
Okay.
the fire chief, Zelman, is.
Yes, I think I have his number, in fact, so, okay.
Hey, can I just,
Sure.
can I say a word? First and foremost, I like loud music. I'm a musician. And so like, it pains me to say this, there was no single event that I have heard people more upset about in terms of the intensity. People saying that we had a weekend where, it was too loud to enjoy being outdoors. I feel it's really critical that you get it right this year. It's gonna require good communication with the bands. The fact that the band's stage volume overwhelms the volume of the PA is not an acceptable excuse. You've got the plug.
Yep.
And they need to understand that in order for this to continue, it's gotta be moderated.
We
It's
were
gotta be moderated.
we were monitoring the dB levels, and we
Yeah.
did not break the ordinance.
Yeah.
So that's one of the troubles is that
That's shocking.
I know it's
Yeah,
shocking, but it's true.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
the
I
Where did
was-
you go
nature.
with them? Where did you go?
They were
with them?
everywhere.
They were everywhere, they went up on
They were
Randall.
driving around.
Really?
They went on
yeah.
Randall, like Randall Road in
But the
particular.
measurement of those, if you read the ordinance, is at the property line.
Correct.
Right, and we were measuring it at the
Yeah.
property line. At the
Okay.
back of the property, it was within. We never violated the noise
Well,
ordinance.
partly that's because.
We
partly
violated
that's-
the. it's the nature of
Yeah,
the music
well,
is disturbing to some people.
well,
We wore
well,
earplugs.
I also, I think, so some of it also, I think, is the fact, it's like I said, we pointed the main stages south to purposely, avoid any complaints, because that's, I've, checked, it's a 5,000 feet of wood straight through. But I think most of what people were hearing was the monitor speakers shooting back north.
Okay.
So between that, like I said, between the tents, between the parking the truck behind, I'm hoping that we can basically, if we even cut out 5 to 10 dB on that front, like, we should be fine.
Yeah, and the lower tones, the deeper.
Correct. The subwoofer stuff. Yep. Yep. And I'll be measuring everything DBC weighting for that purpose.
Good.
So.
I mean,
I know you're constantly.
our problem with our ordinance is that our ordinance is a bit too lenient on some of the levels.
Correct.
As people who have, had challenges have pointed out to us. And so it's a balancing act of trying to allow folks to have some entertainment, yet trying to.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating that I'm not saying that we don't have a problem here. I'm just pointing out that we were very careful about not violating that.
Well, that's why we just wanted to have a conversation rather than having some sort of an uglier discussion, which none of us want to deal with. Because we want to see you come back next year, and we want people in the neighborhood to not even think twice about it. And that's the key to our discussion. Good.
Agreed.
Okay. Do we have
All set.
anything else? All right. Well, hopefully have a good event. I hope for good weather for you.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully we don't need to see each other again.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? I heard that you just reappointed me. Is there going to be something I need to sign? And is there any chance I could do that now? Because I'm going back to California on Friday.
Let's see, well, you have to be sworn in by the town clerk.
Okay.
Next time you're in town.
It'll be, yeah.
You won't be going to a meeting before anyway, right? So-
It's
I
true.
think you can do the online conflict of interest training, because this
I've
is
done
a COI year again, so
Yep.
we'll try to make sure that we get that to you via email, assuming that we have your email address. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, and we're right a little bit ahead of schedule, so we're gonna start talking about town admin business.
Sure. So the first thing, as you're all, I think, very well aware, one of the cruel blows that came immediately after the closing of Southworth was there was an inspection done by the state DOT of the pedestrian bridge that goes over the canal by Fifth Street, and that bridge is town-owned as opposed to the vehicle bridge, which is state-owned, and that bridge failed its inspection and was generally viewed as irreparable and in need of replacement. This creates a real issue for the redevelopment of the Southworth Mill, which has approximately 45 parking spaces that are across the street on Canal Street as opposed to Canal Road, and is a significant impediment to redevelopment. We can't say that we have any fabulous new announcements to make relative to Southworth, but we remain very optimistic, just based on the level of interest that we've seen in that building, that it will be redeveloped. It's actually, for a mill, in very, very good condition. We're going to be pursuing a MassWorks grant, and the MassWorks grant would specifically look to replace that bridge and the utilities that go over it, and to make improvements to the sidewalks along Canal Street heading down from 3rd Street, which presently are in a state of disrepair and don't provide good access from the other additional lot, which was developed with a MassWorks grant several years ago now, at the end of 3rd Street. And these grants can be, well, they're extraordinarily competitive. There's certainly, many times we can just handle a grant application ourselves. This one is going to require that we have some engineering support, and we would also like some technical assistance with writing the narrative. And so we come to you today requesting that you award contracts to 2 separate firms, as in your packet, and as suddenly not available to me here. The first of those would be with CJC Development Advisors LLC. It's led by Jeff Daly. We've been having some ongoing conversations with Jeff. Jeff is something of a Massachusetts HED insider, having worked for that agency and others in the past. He is now an independent consultant, has been for some years, and has shown a good track record in terms of successful pursuit of state grants. He would be assisting with the narrative specifically for that grant, making the argument and tailoring it. And so I'm gonna ask first, as we have all of his materials here, that you move to execute a contract with him for support with our MassWorks grant in the sum of, bear with me, should be $4,100, but I wanna make sure, $4,100.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded.
That was
Any
incorrect.
other discussion? All those, yes.
The consulting firm is CJC Development Advisors. The lead consultant we'll be working with is named Jeff Daly. Jeff works out of the Westfield area. He's been here. He has some real familiarity with our Canal Zone district, actually, at this point in time.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So voted unanimous. Okay.
Okay.
Next, please.
Yes, the second, and here I'm gonna ask that the board, based on the materials we have available, moves to execute when the signed contract and certificate of insurance are in hand, a contract for $7,000 with McMahon Transportation Engineers and Planners. This is an engineering group. We looked very, very carefully at two specifically, the other being VHB, which had initially approached us about this project. We looked at the credentials of McMahon as well as the relationship with the person we wanted to develop the narrative, that was CJC, and felt McMahon was the more appropriate choice. They're currently engaged with the city of East Hampton in developing improvements through a MassWorks grant. It's under design presently. They've also been working on other MassWorks funded projects, including one in Walpole, and they have some specific expertise with canal bridges. Specifically, and there are some examples here, the kind of prefabricated bridge structure that we're talking about. We're very confident that they can come up with an appropriate solution because they've done it in this similar type of context over a historic canal in the past. And so this would be our consulting team for the project. We're going to be paying for this out of community compact funds that were there for the express purpose of evaluating access and these bridges. You might recall that we did an engineering assessment on the 6th Street Bridge. That was from the same pot of money. This money falls under that same domain, and it's an allowable expense from that pool of funds. So looking for a motion to execute the $7,000 contract for MassWorks Project Development Engineering Services with McMahon Transportation Engineers and Planners of Westfield.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Was,
so voting unanimous. Yes,
you
Jeff?
say, so the, you're talking sewer going over that bridge?
Yeah, so on that bridge presently, there are both water and a gravity-fed domestic sewer line. So we would naturally be replacing those older lines when we remove that other bridge. It is not contemplated that we would go onto any private land. We would create trunks for sewer that could be connected by a new owner of Southworth or by the ownership at 42 Canal Road, the former Franklin Regional Housing and Redevelopment Authority building. We also hope in the future to do some additional planning relative to utilities throughout the canal district.
That wouldn't work for the railroad salvage. It's too far away.
Too far away.
It's too far away. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we voted on that one. We're all set. DPW?
Yeah, so I just want everyone to know that, as I shared with you previously, our sub-trades bids came in and they looked like they were very much in line with budget. We received our general contractor bids on Thursday. We are currently going through the process of vetting the 3 lowest bidders with Division of Capital Assets Management. All projects of this scope have fairly thorough evaluations, and they are ranked and scored evaluations for contractors. And part of the required process is that you check with DCAM to make certain that you have good candidates. It is our initial understanding that we have very good candidates. Our top 3, one of the things that we did was we broke certain work off as ad alternates to make sure that we wouldn't go over budget and not be in a position where we couldn't award a contract. It looks presently like we'd be able to take advantage of all the ad alternates and still be within an $8.5 million construction budget, which is the set aside plus about $1 million of contingency that remains in the budget after you get past all of the soft costs that we've already had to invest to get us up to that $11.1 million figure. So real positive news in this is that next week we expect to be able to present the board with an opportunity to award a contract to a vendor. We are very confident it's going to be a very credible general contractor. We will be able to begin work this summer on the project, which will save money, and the bids will be within the project budget.
Good, good news.
Excellent news.
Anything else for topics not anticipated?
I just had an announcement I wanted to share, just because local property owners may take interest or note in the activity. FEMA conducted a discovery meeting for the Millers watershed as part of its risk mapping assessment and planning program, sort of hazard mitigation type planning that they do. During the meeting, they discussed areas of flooding concern and project goals and milestones, etc. The purpose of the letter they sent to us was to let us know that there may be field survey activities within the town of Montague, most likely in the vicinity of the Millers River watershed. And the data that are going to be obtained will be incorporated into hydrology and hydraulic studies that may be used to create updated flood insurance study reports and flood insurance rate maps. From the standpoint of private citizens, while most of this work will be taking place on public land, some private citizens may be approached about some survey work on private land. Anyone who comes from their contractor, which is AECOM, I don't have the name of beyond that acronym, ACOM, they will carry photo identification and this FEMA letter detailing the purpose of their activities. If anyone has any questions, they're welcome to call Town Hall if they're uneasy about admitting someone to their land, just to check and verify. It may not be necessary and there may be no disruption, but to the extent the public may be approached by someone, we just wanted to give advance notice of this. I'll give a copy of this letter to our local press who are in attendance as well.
Okay, good. Anything else? And we have a note from Chief Williams. General Pierce Bridge will be down to 1 lane, alternating traffic tomorrow, June 25th, from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. for continuing DOT repairs. So we don't know the extent of what's going on with that bridge, to be honest with you, and hopefully they will continue to keep it moving on the path of replacement or revitalization, but at least they're making some needed repairs from their recent inspections. They were here a couple weeks ago. Anything else?
Less at risk if DOT people are standing on
I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is next Monday, July 1st at 7 p.m.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 8 p.m.
Aye.
Now we can start signing.